My sister tried to steal my $2 million inheritance, so I exposed her fraud to the entire family. I discovered my sister was forging documents to steal our grandmother's inheritance. So I let her dig her own grave while secretly recording everything. The family reunion became her public execution. I'm Marcus, 28, and this is about my sister Elena, 32, who thought she was smarter than everyone else. Our grandmother, Nana Rose, passed away 6 months ago, leaving behind a substantial estate worth over $2 million. What should have been a time of mourning became a masterclass in family betrayal. The setup. Nana Rose was the matriarch of our family. She built a successful chain of bakeries from nothing, working 16-hour days until she was 75. She was sharp as a tack until the end, and she loved us all fiercely. Her will was crystal clear: the estate would be split equally between her 4 grandchildren, me, Elena, our cousins Jake and Mia. Elena had always been the golden child. Straight A's, full scholarship to law school, successful career as a corporate attorney. But success wasn't enough for her. She wanted it all. The first red flag came 3 weeks after the funeral. Elena volunteered to handle all the legal paperwork as the executor. "It's what I do for a living," she said with that perfect smile. "I'll make sure everything goes smoothly." Our parents were grateful. Uncle David and Aunt Sarah were relieved. Even I thought it was generous of her to take on such a burden during our grief. I should have known better. The discovery. 2 months later, I got a call from Jake. He sounded confused. "Marcus, did you get the estate documents Elena sent? Something doesn't look right." I hadn't received anything. When I called Elena, she was all apologetic concern. "Oh God, Marcus, I'm so sorry. There must have been a mix-up with the mail. I'll send you a copy right away." The documents arrived the next day. According to Elena's version, Nana Rose had made a codicil to her will just before she died, reducing each of our shares to 15% and giving Elena 55% in recognition of her legal expertise and responsible nature. It was dated 3 days before Nana Rose passed away. Something felt wrong. Nana Rose had been in the hospital those final days, heavily medicated and barely conscious. When would she have had the mental capacity to make such a significant change? And why hadn't she mentioned it to any of us during our final visits? I called the law firm that had handled Nana Rose's estate planning for 20 years. The conversation with Mr. Hendricks, her longtime attorney, was enlightening. "Marcus, I'm confused. I drew up Mrs. Castellano's will in 2019, and she never contacted me about any changes. She was very specific about equal distribution among you 4 grandchildren. Are you sure about this codicil?" The pieces started falling into place. Elena had access to legal documents, knew how to forge signatures, and had positioned herself as the sole communicator with the family about estate matters. She was running a con. But I needed proof. The investigation. I couldn't accuse Elena without evidence. As a software engineer, I understood the importance of documentation. So I started building my case methodically. First, I hired a handwriting expert to analyze the supposed codicil. The signature looked right to an untrained eye, but the expert found telltale signs of forgery, slight tremors in the pen strokes that indicated tracing, inconsistent pressure patterns, and microscopic hesitations that showed conscious effort rather than natural signing. Next, I obtained Nana Rose's medical records from those final days. The medication she was on would have made it nearly impossible for her to comprehend legal documents, let alone sign them with the steady hand shown in the codicil. But the smoking gun came from an unexpected source, Elena herself. I had installed a security camera system in my apartment after a break in the previous year. The cameras had motion sensors and automatically uploaded footage to cloud storage. Elena had a key to my place from when she used to water my plants, and she still used it occasionally to borrow things. 3 weeks after Nana Rose's funeral, while I was at work, Elena had let herself in. The timestamp showed her in my home office for over an hour. I had kept some of Nana Rose's personal documents there, photo albums, old letters, things with her signature on them. Elena didn't know about the cameras. The footage was damning. It showed her photographing Nana Rose's signatures with her phone, practicing recreating them on scratch paper, and taking several samples of Nana Rose's handwriting. She was building a forgery kit. I had her dead to rights. But instead of confronting her immediately, I decided to let her hang herself. The trap. I called Jake and Mia separately, shared my findings, and proposed a plan. We would let Elena proceed with her fraud while we documented everything. The goal wasn't just to stop her, it was to expose her completely and make sure she faced real consequences. We told Elena we had some concerns about the timeline of the codicil and suggested we all meet with Nana Rose's original attorney together to clarify things. Elena's response was immediate and telling. "That's not necessary," she said quickly. "I have everything under control. Mr. Hendricks is old and confused. I've already transferred the case to my firm. We have specialists in estate law who can handle this much more efficiently." Of course she had. Over the next month, Elena doubled down. She produced additional documents showing that Nana Rose had also made her the sole executor and had expressed wishes that Elena manage the estate for the good of the family. Each new document was more elaborate than the last. Meanwhile, I was recording every conversation, saving every email, and building an ironclad case. Jake and Mia played their parts perfectly, acting concerned but ultimately trusting Elena's expertise. The breaking point came when Elena announced that the estate settlement would be finalized at the annual family reunion in 2 weeks. She had prepared all the paperwork for us to sign, and we could finally put this difficult chapter behind us. Perfect. A captive audience for the grand reveal. The family reunion showdown. The reunion was held at Uncle David's lake house, the same place we'd celebrated Nana Rose's 90th birthday just 2 years earlier. The entire extended family was there, parents, aunts, uncles, cousins, about 30 people total. Elena had prepared an elaborate presentation. She had printed copies of all her forged documents, prepared a timeline of events, and even brought a PowerPoint presentation explaining the complex legal procedures she had navigated on our behalf. She stood in front of the fireplace, commanding the room with her lawyer's presence, explaining how Nana Rose had wisely chosen her to manage the estate. She talked about market fluctuations, legal complications, and tax implications. She made it sound like she was doing us all a favor by taking the lion's share of the inheritance. And so, she concluded with a warm smile, "Thanks to Nana Rose's foresight and trust in my abilities, I've been able to preserve and grow the estate's value. Everyone will receive their designated portion, and we can honor Nana Rose's final wishes." The room was quiet, impressed by her thoroughness and professionalism. She was good, I'll give her that. Then I stood up. "Elena, before we sign anything, I have a few questions about the timeline." Her smile tightened slightly. "Of course, Marcus. What can I clarify?" I pulled out my laptop and connected it to Uncle David's TV. "I've been doing some research, and I found some interesting discrepancies." The first slide was Nana Rose's medical records from her final week. I walked the family through her condition, the medications, the doctor's notes about her cognitive state. As you can see, during the period when this codicil was supposedly signed, Nana Rose was heavily sedated and, according to her medical team, incapable of making complex decisions. Elena's face was stone, but I could see the panic in her eyes. "Medical records can be misleading, Marcus." Nana Rose had moments of clarity. "That's interesting," I said, clicking to the next slide. "Because I also spoke with Mr. Hendricks, Nana Rose's attorney for over 20 years. He has no record of any contact from Nana Rose about changing her will." Murmurs rippled through the room. Elena's smile was gone now. "Old lawyers make mistakes," she said, her voice harder. "That's why I transferred the case to specialists." "Right, to your firm," I said. "But here's where it gets really interesting." I clicked to the security footage. The room fell silent as they watched Elena in my apartment, photographing signatures, practicing forgery, stealing samples of Nana Rose's handwriting. The silence was deafening. You could hear the lake lapping against the dock outside. Elena's face went through a spectrum of emotions: shock, denial, anger, and finally, desperate calculation. "That's taken out of context," she said quickly. "I was just trying to verify the authenticity of some documents I found. I was protecting all of us from potential fraud." "By committing fraud?" asked Jake quietly. I wasn't done. The handwriting analysis, the timeline inconsistencies, the medical impossibilities, I laid it all out methodically, piece by piece, until the full scope of Elena's deception was undeniable. The family was devastated. Our parents looked like they'd aged 10 years in 10 minutes. Uncle David just stared at his daughter with complete bewilderment. But Elena wasn't finished fighting. The meltdown. "You have no idea what you've done," Elena hissed at me, all pretense of composure gone. "Do you know how much work I've put into managing this estate? How many hours I've spent protecting Nana Rose's legacy? And this is the thanks I get." "Elena," our mother said softly, "honey, what were you thinking?" "I was thinking that I'm the only one in this family with the education and experience to handle something this complex." Elena exploded. "Do you want Marcus managing millions of dollars? He can barely manage his own checking account. Jake works at a hardware store. Mia teaches kindergarten. I'm the only one qualified to preserve what Nana Rose built." The entitlement was breathtaking. Even caught red-handed, she was justifying her theft as being for our own good. "So you decided to steal from us," Mia said, her teacher's voice calm but firm. "For our own protection." "I wasn't stealing," Elena shouted. "I was taking responsibility. Someone had to make the hard decisions." That's when Uncle David spoke up. He'd been quiet through the whole revelation, just staring at the evidence. When he finally found his voice, it was barely above a whisper. "Elena, Nana Rose trusted you. We all trusted you. How could you do this to your own family?" For the first time, Elena seemed to realize the full weight of what she'd done. The room was full of people who had loved and supported her entire life, and they were all looking at her like she was a stranger. She tried one last desperate play. "Fine," she screamed. "You want to tear this family apart over money? Go ahead. But when the estate gets tied up in legal battles for years, when the lawyers take half of everything, when the taxes eat up the rest, don't come crying to me. I was trying to save us from that. By committing multiple felonies," I said calmly. That stopped her cold. The legal implications were just starting to sink in. Forgery, fraud, theft, these weren't family disputes anymore. These were crimes. Elena looked around the room one last time, at faces that had once adored her, and I think she finally understood what she had lost. Without another word, she grabbed her purse and walked out. We heard her car start up and drive away. No one followed her. The aftermath. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of legal activity. We turned over all the evidence to the district attorney's office. Elena was charged with forgery, fraud, and attempted theft. The case made local news, prominent attorney attempts to defraud own family. Elena's law firm suspended her immediately. The state bar launched its own investigation. Her entire career, everything she had worked for, was gone. The estate was straightforward to settle once we removed Elena's forged documents. Mr. Hendricks handled everything personally, and within 2 months, Jake, Mia, and I each received our equal shares as Nana Rose had intended. Elena's share was held in a trust pending the outcome of her criminal case. Ironically, if she had just waited and taken her equal portion, she would have been $500,000 richer. Instead, she was facing prison time and professional ruin. The family dynamics were more complicated to repair. Our parents were devastated by Elena's betrayal but also torn between their children. Uncle David and Aunt Sarah were humiliated and heartbroken. The extended family was split between those who supported our decision to prosecute and those who thought we should have handled it privately. I received some criticism for the way I exposed Elena so publicly. Some family members felt I was vindictive, that I could have confronted her privately first. But I knew Elena well enough to know that private confrontation would have just made her better at covering her tracks. The only way to stop her was to make the evidence undeniable and the consequences severe. The trial and consequences. Elena's trial was held 8 months later. She had hired expensive defense attorneys who tried to paint her as a grieving granddaughter who had made poor decisions under emotional stress. They portrayed me as the vindictive brother who had orchestrated an elaborate setup to destroy his sister. It didn't work. The evidence was too overwhelming, the premeditation too clear. The security footage alone showed calculated, deliberate fraud, not emotional decision-making. Elena was convicted on all counts. She was sentenced to 2 years in prison and ordered to pay restitution for the legal costs her fraud had created. She was also disbarred, ending her legal career permanently. I felt no satisfaction in her downfall. Despite everything, she was still my sister. But I also felt no regret. She had made her choices, and actions have consequences. Lessons learned. Looking back on the whole ordeal, I learned several important lessons. Trust your instincts. Something felt wrong about Elena's story from the beginning, but I almost dismissed those feelings because she was family and because she was the expert. Document everything. Having concrete evidence made all the difference between family drama and criminal justice. Sometimes the people closest to you are capable of the greatest betrayals. Elena wasn't driven by desperation or need, she was comfortable and successful. She was driven by greed and a sense of entitlement that made her believe she deserved more than everyone else. Standing up to family members when they're wrong is one of the hardest things you can do, but sometimes it's necessary to protect yourself and others. Where we are now. It's been 2 years since the reunion, and the family is slowly healing. Elena was released from prison after serving 18 months and has disappeared from our lives entirely. None of us have heard from her since her sentencing. Our parents still struggle with what happened. They love both their children, but they can't understand how Elena could have done what she did to people who trusted her. Jake, Mia, and I have grown closer through the experience. We established a small foundation in Nana Rose's name that provides scholarships for first-generation college students. It feels like something she would have wanted. I used my portion of the inheritance to start my own software consulting business. It's doing well, and for the first time in my life, I feel financially secure. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I hadn't installed those security cameras, if I hadn't caught Elena in the act. Would she have gotten away with it? Would we have signed those papers and never known we'd been robbed by our own sister? I think about Nana Rose sometimes, about what she would have thought of all this. She built her fortune through honest work and wanted to share it equally with the grandchildren she loved. Elena's betrayal wasn't just about money, it was about disrespecting everything Nana Rose had worked for and stood for. The hardest part isn't the money or even the legal drama. It's the loss of the sister I thought I knew. The Elena who helped me with my homework, who taught me to drive, who I looked up to for so many years, that person either never existed or was consumed by greed and ambition. But I've learned that you can't save people from themselves. All you can do is protect yourself and the people you care about, and hope that justice prevails. I sleep well at night knowing I did the right thing, even when it was the hardest thing. And sometimes, that has to be enough. Final thoughts: trust is like a vase, once it's broken, you can glue it back together, but it will never be the same. Elena shattered our family's trust for money she would have inherited anyway. That's a level of short-sighted greed I still can't fully comprehend. To anyone dealing with similar family betrayals, document everything, trust your instincts, and remember that blood relation doesn't give someone a free pass to steal from you. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is hold people accountable for their actions, even when it hurts. The inheritance was supposed to be Nana Rose's final gift to her grandchildren. Instead, it became a test of character. 3 of us passed. 1 of us failed spectacularly. I just wish the price of that lesson hadn't been so high for everyone involved.